Alright. So welcome to anyone currently watching this. I got this in the mail the other day, and I've been waiting to open it for everyone. I'm not exactly sure when I first even backed Too Many Bones Unbreakable. I backed pretty much every Chip Theory Kickstarter at this point. So most recently was their Kickstarter for Elder Scrolls, I think, which was an insta-back. Like, that game looks really cool. And I have all the Too Many Bones content, essentially, I think almost every expansion in my trove, my trove chest there. So just want to quick check something here. So, probably not the proper tool for this kind of job. These are actually tweezers that wargamers like to use for their counter picking up, and it even comes with an LED light because it's actually meant for more industrial applications, but works as a box cutter too. Alright, so it'd be awkward if this isn't actually, yeah. It does look like Too Many Bones. And okay, so the first out of the box looks like a character expansion, and I honestly don't remember off the top of my head what exactly I got with this Kickstarter pledge. So clearly this is a character expansion, and if you're not familiar with Chip Theory's Too Many Bones game, definitely look it up, because I'm not kind of starting from the beginning here. This is I think it actually is a standalone expansion or standalone core box for Too Many Bones. But there was a core game released a few years ago, and since then they've just added tons and tons of characters and additional expansions. So it's quite the game. Yeah. So actually, Unbreakable must be a standalone, because here it does say that you need either requires Too Many Bones Undertow, or Unbreakable to play. So they actually have the core game called Too Many Bones, and they have Too Many Bones Undertow, which is also a standalone expansion, and then Unbreakable is the one that I'm talking about today that I received all this stuff for. So here is the Survivalist, and at first glance it's hard to really say anything stands out about him, but it looks like it says in the back here, baddies are back on the menu. Carcass the his name's Carcass. Carcass the survivalist Gearlock is never one to let an enemy go to waste. If he collects a baddie, you can be sure he'll salvage every piece of it, with recipes that transform his fallen foes into buffs and heals for himself and his party. So, without knowing anything else, and looking at a card he has on the back here, I'm deducing like it said in the description, when he kills a baddie, he takes it kind of as a prize or trophy, but then with that baddie, he's probably able to use his dice pool to use baddies for different purposes, whether, like it said, for healing or I'm sure other types of game effects. So that's definitely a type of baddie that, gosh, I'm sorry with all the cameras. That's definitely a baddie I'm not immediately familiar with in terms of mechanic that we've seen before. I think... I thought there's the one Gearlock that does take baddies after he kills them, and then I think buffs his attack, I want to say. So anyone watching is very familiar with the game, you can correct that statement. But I like the idea that, it sounds very thematic, right? He's the survivalist. He kills these baddies, and then is able to leverage the baddie for some sort of benefit to himself. So character expansion right there. I'm gonna lay these out as I go along. So that's the first thing in this big box that I have. All right, the second item is interesting. So it's called 40 Waves in Delore, and this is very small box, very small footprint, and I'm not exactly sure if I already had this expansion from a previous Kickstarter. Or if... I think it's because I have 40 Days in Delore, which is a separate expansion from 40 Waves in Delore. Now, this expansion does say it's specifically for the Undertow game. So, or no, in the bottom it says that. The expansion only for Undertow, or requires Undertow to play. And as it says here too, additional baddies and encounters for Undertow. So, that's all this expansion is. I have Undertow, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten this. And Undertow, again, another standalone. Thank you, JR, for the comment. I'm piecing this together as we go. Like I said, I've collected so much Too Many Bones stuff that I can't keep track of it all. So, but I like what they did with the naming, because, like I said, I got tripped up on 40 Days and 40 Waves. So 40 Waves in Delore, Undertow expansion. Again, this Kickstarter was actually the Unbreakable expansion, where they must have released this additional expansion that's specifically used for Undertow. So, putting that out on the table, we've got those two boxes now. Let's move on to what's next in the big box here. We'll pick out another. Oh my gosh! All right, they're really leveling this wording system. So now we have 40 Caves in Delore, and I'm gonna guess that this is a expansion then for Unbreakable. And that's exactly what it says on the box. So here requires additional baddies and encounters for Unbreakable. Baddies are essentially the bad guys, not surprisingly, in the Too Many Bones series. And then it says requires Unbreakable to play. So, and encounters are essentially if you're, again, not familiar with the Too Many Bones system, encounters are just missions. So some missions in Too Many Bones are combat missions where you'll actually fight a battle against the baddies. And then you have missions that actually are just more verbal, kind of traditional RPG type story missions where you're just making a decision, and depending on what decision you make, you may get a benefit or take in some sort of negative consequence. But having obviously more encounters and more baddies means more variety of gameplay. So we add that to the table. And still a few more things left in this box. So next we have Rage of Tyranny. And I'm liking the smaller footprint of expansion boxes for Too Many Bones. A lot of their boxes for their expansions did seem a little on the oversized side, so I'm glad that they're trying to make these a little smaller. This expansion says alternate tyrants and day encounters for too many bones and undertow requires only, or expansion only requires too many bones and undertow to play. So unfortunately, once again, I'm not exactly sure the background of Rage of Tyranny as a expansion. Clearly, it's you need too many bones and undertow to play. In terms of what it says about it, the Tyrants of Delore have returned with a vengeance. Rage of Tyranny includes alternate mechanics and components for every tyrant and too many bones and undertow, as well as an additional starting day cards for each. So based on that, my assumption is tyrants and too many bones are the bosses. So you have the baddies, which are kind of like the weaker minions that you'll be fighting, and every then game of too many bones will essentially end with a boss battle, which is, like I said, a tyrant. And the tyrants all are asymmetrical. They have unique encounters that you'll experience during the course of your campaign, but then they are like a big baddie themselves, and all of the tyrants fight in a unique way, and have their own set of mechanics. So what this expansion seems to be doing is taking the tyrants that already exist for the game and adding variety to them, giving them another way to play against them. So if you played against the same tyrant 10 times, then you'll know what to expect in terms of how they act and everything. So this expansion must be adding different additional aspects or alternative aspects to the tyrants to to make them fresh again, which is again a great way to take the existing content that already is out there for Too Many Bones and make it interesting. Curious to see how they refresh all the tyrants. I'm assuming they just give them a new tyrant card that has different rules for the tyrant, but I'm wondering how then they keep what already exists for the tyrant the same, because I can't imagine they would completely overhaul the tyrants. But anyway, that's what Rage of Tyranny is, an expansion for the tyrants, and the day encounters. So again, as I mentioned, if you were listening, already were here a few minutes ago, I was talking about how encounters in Too Many Bones are essentially the missions that you'll be playing. So the fact that they give you additional, the wording they use is alternate day encounters. So I don't know if that means you take out the existing encounters that came with the core box and replace them with the day encounters from then this expansion, or if you just add them to the existing encounters. But nonetheless, it gives you, like I said, additional missions to play with. So that's Rage of Tyranny. And another box on the table there. So I think this might be the last. No. Wow, there was a lot of stuff in this Kickstarter. So the next box that I just pulled out here is Static, the Brawler. So this is another Gearlock expansion. So as already shown, I opened up Carcass, the Survivalist, which is a Gearlock expansion. Now we have Static, the Brawler. Okay. So as JR said in the chat, thanks JR, day 1, 2, and 3 in the core game. So in every game, in the original game of Too Many Bones, the first 3 encounters are essentially the same. And that's just because the game wants you to make sure you get a certain level of are guaranteed a certain level of experience and equipment points before you start having encounters that are completely unhinged and could be super difficult if you come into them without any kind of baseline skills. So I'm guessing the Rage of Tyranny expansion adds more variety to those first few encounters, just to provide a little more unique gameplay for those that have already played those first few day encounters over and over and over again. I felt they had already had an expansion for that in the past, where they've provided alternate day 1 through 3 encounters. So maybe these are just even more day 1 through 3 encounters. But nonetheless, that would make a lot of sense because otherwise those first 3 encounters, playing them over and over and over again, could get kind of annoying to have to deal with. So back to Static, the Brawler. So I'm going to imagine this is a Gearlock that likes to get close and personal with the baddies. His text says, it looks like a dude. This ebullient, muscle-bound Gearlock might not attack every turn, but when he does, look out. The first playable martial artist in Too Many Bones, Static can meditate on turns when he doesn't deal damage, allowing him to save up Dex and unleash blistering attacks when the time is right. So in this game, Dex stands for dexterity, and essentially is the amount of dice you get to roll on your turn. If you haven't picked up on the name, the game's called Too Many Bones because you're rolling bones, or you're rolling a lot of dice in this game. There's attack and defense dice that are exactly what they are. They deal damage. The attack ones deal damage. The defense prevent damage. But every Gearlock then has this huge belvery of unique skill dice that are all asymmetrical, and you're rolling those on your turn too. But dexterity limits how many attack, defense, and skill dice you can roll in your turn. So what this character apparently does is he can build up that dexterity by maybe not doing something on a turn or meditating, and maybe just I'm not sure if that literally means he doesn't do anything or just can move but maybe not attack, and then builds that dexterity up so then he can do one huge turn once he builds that dexterity up to whatever number, so then he can roll more dice in one turn. So that's a very interesting concept, and that's what's great about Too Many Bones. All these characters, the Chip Theory finds all these ways to bring in new characters that are completely different than any of the other characters that have been released so far. And I'd have to say the same for Static here. I'm not aware of a character where you're building up a stat over time like that. So that's really cool. And it continues on saying, even when not dealing damage, he's a formidable foe with fighting styles that manipulate his stats, break past enemy defense, and direct baddies to hurt each other. So it sounds like maybe he can push baddies into each other or something like that to have them hurt each other. So basically he's like the Jackie Chan / Bruce Lee Gearlock, which I think's a fantastic kind of inspiration for a new Gearlock character. Really excited to see how this Static guy plays. And as you can see, he's got these are very unique chips that I've not seen for any kind of Gearlock before, so not exactly sure how they're going to be used for Static, but again, it just illustrates the vast array of gameplay styles of the various Gearlocks that when they're adding new mechanisms and stuff like that. So that's really fun. Oh boy, we're not done yet. All right. So, and I'm already smiling because I just love the theming of these characters. Next we have Polaris the Geologist. And I just think that's hilarious because, this is a combat game. We have Carcass here, who looks like a big tough brute. You have Static, the Brawler. So both these guys definitely look like they're meant to be fighting against a bunch of baddies. But now we have Polaris, the Geologist, who does embody what I would imagine a geologist might look like. And I'm already wondering, okay, so how are they going to make this this Gearlock someone that's going to be useful on the battlefield? So the description for Polaris says, unleash the hidden power of magnets with Polaris, a versatile new Gearlock for Too Many Bones. Polaris's power lies in her trajectory board, where she places powerful magnet orbs that manipulate the flow of combat. Wow, again, this is completely unique from any other Gearlock. Whether dealing massive recall damage, manipulating magnetic fields to pass through baddies, restoring health with her positive vibes, or even cave diving for rare minerals during the recovery phase, Polaris is one of the most versatile and eccentric Gearlocks in the Too Many Bones arsenal. So if we take a look here at her player mat, she's got this kind of almost like sideboard that she apparently is using for this magnet ability. and that's unprecedented. There's not any Gearlock board that has like its own little mini game on the side, so that's really cool. It obviously doesn't go into detail exactly how that all works, but again, it's asymmetric, right? Like, there's a lot of games where characters are very similar to each other. Maybe their stats are just different, but otherwise they behave the same way. In Too Many Bones, not the case. The Gearlocks, of course, have starting this 4 same traits, that the base traits, the attack, defense, dexterity, and health, but they all play so differently. So, really curious to see of these 3. Almost most curious to see them now how Polaris plays. And thanks, JR, for the comment about the baddie stacks for the mystery chips on the back of Static. So these apparently go into the baddie stacks somehow for a game effect, which something never seen before as a mechanic in this game. Like, they just added that for this one's new Gearlock, so that's really cool. So I think this is the last thing I have in the box. And the main event, what we are all here to see, and that is Too Many Bones Unbreakable. And I'm laughing because they put this like blue kind of a blue plastic wrap over it. I don't know if that has a reason for it. Maybe it says eco-friendly on that sticker, so maybe that's what this plastic's more eco-friendly than the other plastic wraps, which is awesome. I mean, that's really cool. I've never seen that before. So, I mean, as a board game company, to kind of be revolutionizing the way things get packaged is really cool to see. So that's awesome that Chip Theory's doing that. And I haven't gotten, I'm from Minnesota, and Chip Theory is a Minnesota-based company, so I'm a little biased as to my love for the company for that reason. But they objectively make the highest quality games in the business. I don't think any company can really make that statement other than Chip Theory. So with that said, here we are, Unbreakable. Honestly, I was expecting just a huge box. Well, not a huge box, but a box bigger than this. And this then goes to a comment I said earlier. Chip Theory's footprint for their boxes is getting smaller. And maybe that's part of the eco-friendly aspect too. I just pulled that wrap from that said it was actually, what did I do with it? I can show you what I'm talking about. So it said says eco-friendly on the sticker, so I'm just assuming that's what this wrapper. So anyway, obviously less cardboard's awesome for the environment, but also it's awesome for my shelves because big boxes really get annoying when you don't have much space left on your couch shelves. However, I thought so ideally I get all of this new stuff in my trove chest. And I want to say I saw a comment, or I want to say in the Kickstarter they mentioned everything should fit in existing trove chests, but I'm really scared to try because already that thing is super heavy, and this box is dense. It's small, relatively speaking, but it is dense. So, wondering if and that's there's all this stuff too. But anyway. So let's actually pull Unbreakable open. First I'll show the back of the box just so you can see at a quick glance everything that you're getting in this game. Looks like you get 2 Gearlocks in this box. Based on, yeah. So, and it says in the player count 1 to 2 players, so that makes sense. The core box, this Unbreakable box. Well, JR says in the comments is saying everything will fit in my trove chest, so God have mercy on me once I load that thing up because it's to the point where I really can't move it anywhere it looks great in the Calyx cubby, but if I take that thing out and try to bring it to John and Corey's, either John or Corey's place from Talking Cardboard, like it's about to just burst open. I can tell, so I'm realizing I have to actually take out the whatever components I actually want to play with. Nonetheless, glad to hear that it will all fit, because otherwise I would need to be doing a lot of rearranging. So getting back to the components of Unbreakable, looks like you have the battle map, like the Korg box, and then the Undertow, and then 2 Gearlocks that come with the game. And then more, the standard dice that you would need doesn't. It doesn't look at first glance like there's anything extremely different included in the Unbreakable game. Obviously, I can tell the battle map is a different orientation. Yeah, did I fumble and say Chip Theory is not Minnesota? I definitely was trying to explain that I like Chip Theory because they're a Minnesota-based game company, and I am from Minnesota as well. So if I said something different, I apologize. So let's see. Too Many Bones Unbreakable is the second standalone expansion to the hit dice builder RPG Too Many Bones, featuring 2 new Gearlocks, a brand new lava battle mat, and the challenging baddies, inventive encounters, and strategic gameplay the series is known for. Too Many Bones Unbreakable is the perfect entry point for new players and franchise stalwarts alike. No matter your experience level, you will find new challenges in the bowels of the break. Can you master its underground tyrants before their power bubbles to the surface? So let's kind of open this baby up and move that over there. I guess not. What's the tribe up? Oh, what's the trove upgrade? I have my trove from one of the previous Kickstarters, so. And their box quality, it's impossible to really tell unless you feel it, but the box quality is awesome. And the interior of the box, like, you don't have to have artwork on the interior of the board game box, but it looks really nice. So we have the rule set, and the rule books, just again, you can't really tell, but I can't help but not mention the material of their rule books is top notch. Like, you can't really get a better quality material for the pages of a rule book than what Chip Theory uses. I feel like you can. I guess not. I know that there was some leftover. I know I had a couple leftover things from a couple empty ones, so I'll have to do some inventory to see how many trays and stuff I need for the new Gearlocks and Tyrants. I don't know how I missed that. There was maybe so much information that I missed the fact I probably would need to get an upgrade for the trove chest. So thankfully, since like I said, Chip Theory is located here not too far from me, I might need to pay them a visit and see if they have any extra things laying around so that I can use. Alright, so oops. Now here's the inside of the box. Card decks. So these are going to be the encounters. So here we have what an encounter card looks like. I'm going to I was going to say quickly pop this open just to see if it's only encounter cards in here. But they need to have a better tool for I don't think I have riffle stickers. I mean, I got that thing like a few years ago, I want to say. So I definitely don't think I have the newest. Oops. 12 chests, which now bums me a little bit that I somehow missed that. So when we go and look at these encounter cards, what I like about Chip Theory is they do a great job of itemizing. So it says on the bottom of the cards, the number of whichever number encounter it is. So general means it's like for a non-solo game essentially of Too Many Bones, and then they also have the solo encounters that you would use if you're playing a solo game. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's no reason why you can't just two-hand a game of Too Many Bones alone and play two different characters alone and then use the general cards. The solo cards mean you're playing just with literally a single character. So then that's for balancing purposes. For 2 to 4 characters, the same encounter cards, I guess, are balanced accordingly. But if you're playing solo, that's why they have the solo. That's when you would, if you're playing with one Gearlock, that's when you would use those solo encounter cards. Now I'm opening up this other small deck of cards, which looks like the Tyrant encounters. So, to kind of make the game more thematic, which I appreciate this aspect of Too Many Bones, the various Tyrants in the game have their own encounters that you add into the encounter deck to kind of illustrate, like, hey, you're fighting, well, we'll say this Grinder guy. Like, this is one of the Tyrants. You're fighting Grinder. He's going to have his own type potential encounters that are unique to when playing against Grinders. So it adds variety in the encounter deck, so you're not just playing the same exact types of encounter cards regardless of the Tyrant you're playing. So that's what's cool. I really like that aspect of Too Many Bones, that they have these Tyrant encounters. Kind of makes the game that much more thematic. And then here we have the Tyrants themselves. So it looks like I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new Tyrants, maybe? At first glance, that's what it looks like to me anyway. And they all look very, very different in terms of mechanics and how they play. So that's cool. And yeah, one more way Chip Theory goes above and beyond. They give you these very high quality card holders, which there's not many games out there that in the box give you a card holder. Just one of those things that Chip Theory does for their games. So that was that deck of cards. Now we have another deck here of cards to check out. And looks like these are the loot cards. So in a game of, what kind of dungeon crawler doesn't have loot that you can pick up as you play the game. So while you're playing in any of the games of Too Many Bones, whether Unbreakable or Undertow or the core game, your Gearlocks are picking up loot as you play, and loot can do a whole ton of different things. Either provide defense benefits or attack benefits. So here are the various loot cards that come with Unbreakable. I'm not going to go through all these in detail, but and then we also have what's called Trove Loot. And Trove Loot is essentially like really good loot. And also what makes Trove Loot unique is you have to, in Too Many Bones, there's this mini game where you pick the locks by rolling dice. It's super thematic, a lot of fun, but that's how you are able to actually gain access to these Trove Loot cards after you discover them in a game. And then it looks like we have some Oh, I think this is... Oh, yeah, epilogue cards. So at one point, the Too Many Bones expansion, epilogue cards were added for every tyrant, and it's kind of like a trophy, if you will, for defeating a tyrant. By defeating the tyrant, you then get to read their epilogue and you get maybe some kind of reward, and I think it is a way to incentivize playing the game in more of a campaign format where you play multiple tyrants back to back. If that sounds right, I'll let JR audit that statement since he seems to be well informed about the game, but I believe that's kind of the purpose of the epilogues, which is was a nice kind of way of encouraging players to play, to be able to connect multiple games of Too Many Bones with each other. Otherwise, one session of Too Many Bones is one tyrant, a couple hours, you're done. There's no overarching campaign. But with that epilogue system, I think that kind of gave that opportunity for players. All right. And I'm opening another smaller group of cards here. Oh, and speaking of campaign rewards, there are also these campaign reward cards too. So again, a way to kind of connect games together so you feel like you're playing a bigger campaign. Oh, that's really cool too, that you can even you get new dice for your Gearlocks. Because it's one thing to get an item, but just being able to roll more dice is always fun. And then these are additional encounters. At the bottom, it's saying special encounters, or that's what the type is. Special encounters are what they say they are. They're special. They come up in unique ways through game effects. Maybe a general encounter will tell you, hey, since you chose this decision, now add this special encounter to the deck. So these are encounters that you would never start a game with, as far as I'm aware, but could get added to a game, again, based on how those other general encounters work out for you. Or solo encounters. Maybe some of these are relevant for solo encounters as well. Anyway, that's the cards that come with Unbreakable. And now let's look at some of the other content in the box. So we have the dice themselves. Now, these are, I can tell, the two sets of dice for the new Gearlocks. And I'll just go ahead and show everyone. So these are the dice that are used to track the skill points of your Gearlocks. And these are for one of the new characters in the Unbreakable box. I'm not sure which. But then also you have 16 of these skill dice that are completely asymmetric from one Gearlock to the other. All the symbology is always new for almost always the symbology is always new for every Gearlock. So unless you read the Gearlock card, you're not going to have any idea what all these different symbols mean. But I think they use a special kind of, I want to say laser printing is how they print the dice, but it's not like a sticker that you can peel off with your fingernail. So I always like pointing that aspect out too for these chip theory games, is that their dice, which maybe of anything should be expected for a game that focuses so heavily on dice play, but their dice are definitely very high quality. So that's the first dice tray in the box. We'll quick show the other one here. And in the other one, we have some of these other bits and pieces. So we have these square... I don't know what to even call these little square counter things, but they're in here. And then this token, which no idea yet what this does, but that's in here as well. And then a character chip. I don't know why it's in here and not in the token tray, but maybe it didn't fit, so they threw that in here as well. And then these black dice are typically status effect dice, I want to say. So I'm going to imagine there's new statuses that are added to Unbreakable. So in the base game, there's bleeding and stunned and immobile status effects that affect your player, or that affect both Gearlocks and baddies. And they use dice to you would set the die on the character to represent what effect they currently are impacted by. So I assume that's what these are for. A number die always has its use cases. Some encounters or other effects might have you roll a 6-sided die for certain results. And then we have, these are the initiative die. So when you finally have a encounter with a baddie, you take your initiative die and roll them to see where you end up on that initiative track. And then I'll maybe be able to show that in a second. And then these are all dice that I'm not immediately aware of. I think these might be used by the tyrants typically. I think they are the tyrant dice. So I think I said 6 tyrants, so there's 6 dice here. So I think each tyrant has their own unique die, again with their own unique symbology. And when you then are finally get to that tyrant battle at the end of a game, you will be rolling these tyrant dice and resolving the effect, the nasty effect typically of whatever these results are. So that's the other dice tray in the game. And then let's look at the chips. So, given the name of the company, Chip Theory, Chip Theory is well known for their very high quality of chips for their games. And these are the baddies. So in this first tray, it was mostly 1 and 5 point baddies. 1 point, the lower the point number, the easier the baddie. So when you're playing an encounter, I guess it includes all the different denominations in this stack. But you're playing when you get to an encounter where you have to set up a battle, a lot of times the battle will tell you how many baddie points you need to fight against, and then that you collect that number of baddie points accordingly. So for an example, here is a 1 point baddie and has the attack value or the health value up here on the left. Its attack value is just one attack die. A lot of them will have an ability of some sort, and then how they target, whether it's this arrow or the bow and arrow symbol means it's a ranged. It can attack from range, and then 4, I believe, is the initiative, and then this is the symbol for what type of, we'll say, faction of baddie it belongs to, and different tyrants will tell you different factions of baddies to play with in that given game. So that's essentially the entomology. I don't know if that's the right word for that. The entomology for the for a baddie. Wow, this one looks like a walking beaker or whatever, Erlenmeyer flask with legs. That's a very unique looking baddie. It's hilarious. I don't know if I want to. It almost looks kind of innocent. I don't know. Like, why is this something I need to blow up? It looks like it's something that is innocent. But anyway, this is a 5 point baddie, so you can see its base stats are much better. 2 attack dice, 2 shield dice, 5 health. I want to say that denotes the 2 characters maybe means it can attack 2 guys on a turn. But anyway, so, and then let's take a quick gander at a 20-point baddie. So, actually, this one, the attack, well, 4 attack dice actually is a lot. So, 4 attack dice, 2 defense dice, 8 health, multiple abilities, and a few others. Not exactly sure what the feet symbols are. There's these feet symbol on the left, and on the right it's got this other symbol which I'm not immediately sure what that implies. But anyway, the 20-point baddies are definitely a challenge. So that's the baddies that essentially make up the entirety of this chip tray. So I'm just gonna quick put them back in. And diagonal movement. Thanks, JR. So normally baddies and Gearlocks can move just orthogonally on the battle map, but the foot symbol on that baddie, on that 20-point baddie chip, means it signifies it can move diagonally, which means it's more mobile, can get around the board more easily. So that's what that meant. And these chip trays are high quality too, by the way. I don't want to glance over that aspect of component quality in the box. So now we finally are getting to the Gearlock mats. So let's take a look at both. Starting with this one on top, which is Figment. And these are well-made neoprene mats, that computer mouse pad material. So here we have Figment. Figment's base health is 4. Actually, I don't know what the averages are for the Gearlocks off the top of my head. 1 and 1 for attack and defense definitely must be on the lower end of the spectrum for average. 4 might be okay for health to start. 2 dexterity definitely isn't significant. So base stats, nothing that's really is significant by any means. And when we flip it, so let's take a quick look at Figment's, going back to the main box here. So each Gearlock has a guide, for lack of a reference sheet that gives all the juicy details of how you actually use that Gearlock in a game, since they have such a variety of abilities. So here we have Figments. So for Figment, let's see. Let's kind of read this. Born hundreds of years ago, Figment was thrown forward in time when the breaking of Delore triggered a kobold orb he was studying. Now he has fashioned the orb into a time machine, allowing him to manipulate the flow of the battle and observe the potentialities of other timelines as he fights for justice. Interesting. All right. So, what's nice too is, you don't have to read these at all by any means, but Chip Theory gives you kind of a beginning build strat for a new player, maybe in general, but also maybe someone that's never played a character before. So it says your first stat or 2 should go towards HP. Figment may need a dex after that if you have a skill or 2 already trained. Otherwise, go for defense for survivability and more ways to get bones for your all important battle plan is what I think BP is. And backup plan. And backup plan is kind of like the like a charge meter. So as you all Gearlocks have this, but essentially when you're rolling these dice in too many bones, and this is where the name really comes from, besides the play on words of dice and bones. But a lot of the dice are going to have this bone symbol. The bone symbol on its own normally means nothing. But if you do roll bone symbol, you can add it to your backup plan. And eventually, as you fill this backup plan up, you get better and better abilities that you can exhaust those bones for. So that's what that's all about. So when it says, so I'm wondering now, of course, what his unique backup plan abilities are. And actually, so number 5. So if you get 5 backup, if you were able to get 5 bones in your backup plan, it says roll all dice in your backup plan, including those spent to activate this backup plan, and all bones rolled this turn. Treat the rolled results as dice rolled this turn. Holy cow! Okay, so I think it's just saying like he gets to do a huge turn of rolling a ton of dice at once. Yeah, so like normally you're limited to your decks, but what his backup plan ability is saying, if you have 5 bone dice, he can then take all 5 of those, roll them, and I would imagine add them to what already he was rolling. So maybe already he rolled 3-4 dice, or already let's say he rolled a few dice. And now he's rolling 5 more dice from his backup plan. So sounds like a fun ability to try to work towards. Let's see what else. Skills. Try the Time Skipper Professional line first to experience the power of initiative and round counter manipulation. If you are solo, grab Phase Ghost. If you are grouped, grab Phase Ghost. Did we mention Phase Ghost? All right, so Phase Ghost should be a skill dice on here. Phase Ghost. All right, so down there. And these are all skill. This is a skill. These are all skill trees. So stars mean you can take that dice without having any prerequisite. Because during the course of a game, you're going to get these skill points, and a skill point allows you to add 1 skill dice to your skill dice tree over here. This green track, for example, you have to start at the star, and then before you can get this one, and then you need this one before you can get that. Well, that's also a star. Am I dumb here? Oh, yeah. No, I'm not dumb. I don't typically... Okay, whatever. So what I just said was true. But, so that's how the basic gist of these skill trees. And what I was just reading was saying that this Phase Ghost skill dice is really useful. And now let's take a look at what's nice is these guides give you all the different 16 dice and all the different symbol possibilities. And Phase Ghost is down here, and it has these. I don't know what kind of symbol it's a person. We'll say a person in a time machine symbol, because I think that's what phase. So it's called phase, and the ability says place the phase chip with number of HP on any available position on the battle mat. Immediately swap positions with the phase. Exhaust this die at the start of your next turn. The phase is removed from the battle mat when it loses its last HP or this die is exhausted. So place the phase chip with number HP on any. So there's a unique chip, I guess, called the phase chip, which I'm maybe glossed over at some point, or it's trying to. It's probably in a one of these stacks. Anyway, I don't want to waste too much time. Jeez. Yeah, maybe. I mean so the clear phase. So this additional stack is a bunch of lava tokens, which I assume come into play in the battle map. I imagine lava areas are areas you no longer can. I'm going to assume that the battle map in this game is dynamic. You're going to have these lava spots appear since you're like fighting in a volcano type environment. So these will probably show up and then prevent you from moving around certain parts of the board. You get a lot of them, so I guess maybe enough to cover the whole board if ever needed. But it's not otherwise in the stack there. Let me just quick check this roll. Ooh, they've decided to up the thickness of their day tracker. So in previous versions of the game, the day tracker chip was the same thickness as the baddie chip or character chips or all the other chips, but now they've like doubled the thickness of the day counter, which I can't say I don't mind, or I appreciate it. Oh, and here's the old dude, Figment. That's his character chip. Now, Figment, or there's also this chip, which is Figment with in a epic action pose. So maybe this is the phase chip in question that we're talking about, trying to figure out what it is. One side he's kind of ghosty looking, and then the other side it's like more colored, so I'm going to assume that's the phase chip. And I'm not exactly understanding. Okay, Phase Wraith is the next ability. I'm not exactly understanding. Yeah, I don't. I have that adventure map from the previous. Yeah, I acquired that. Well, is there a unique one for this game? Oh, well. Probably an add-on I missed out. But for the previous games, I know I have the adventure map. So that's Figment. I mean, there's a lot to digest here. I'm not going to do it all right now, but sounds like he's got this phase chip that he manipulates, and he's all about at this messing with that initiative track, moving things around. Definitely not a combat per se oriented Gearlock, which isn't surprising based on his appearance, but I would imagine has very useful abilities nonetheless. So that's Figment, and then let's now move on to the other Gearlock, which happens to be Gale. So here we have Gale's battle map, and with Gale, again, so we can compare here Gale, dexterity of 3, attack of 2, and 4 health as well. So already better attack, better dex than... I can't remember all the names of these people. I'm bad with name Figment. So that's cool. And let's whip out the reference card for Gale to see what Gale's all about. So Gale's flavor text: born in the break, Gale was raised by the Mirawat after the harsh conditions of her surroundings left her orphaned. Gravely injured in an attack on Mirawat's compound, Gale's life was saved by wind-based cybernetic augments cooked up by her mentor. Okay, interesting. Gust rockets. That sounds fun. Well, let's see what her 5 bone thing. Compare that to Figment. So hers says, immediately roll attack dice equal to your attack stat against an adjacent baddie. So I'm not necessarily hyped up on that one. Like five bones just to do an additional attack. Obviously, that would incentivize her to have a high attack skill. I mean, if you had 5 bones but your attack was 2, it's like I don't think that justifies using that ability at all. Change. I'd say this is more interesting. Change 1 skill. Her 4 bone ability on her backup plan says change 1 skill. Roll this turn to the result of your choice. Now that's definitely nice ability, because some of those skill dice, if you roll the bone symbol and you really wanted something else, this backup plan ability would allow then you to change it to exactly what you want. So when you look at so it sounds like she's I guess she's got a bunch of wind weapons on her or something. Like she's got this tree called Attack Protocol. Arm cannon. That sounds fun. Arm cannon. So the symbols are let's see here. What is that? Oh, they add effects. So these looks like these different versions of these sides of that arm cannon die also add status effects to the Gearlock that you're attacking. Gust rockets. So while active, when using dex for movement during your turn, you can move to diagonal positions for 1 dex per movement. If on a side with M, other movement protocol profession dice are boosted by the number. I'm actually not entirely sure what all that means off the top of my head, but I was reading this gust rocket thing. Percussive blaster. Now let's see what that says. I was assuming arm cannon was more of like an attack die, but it actually seems more of like... Oh no, that's gust rockets. I'm stupid. So arm cannon. Oh, okay. Arm cannon's down here. I was like so confused. While active, any of your skills with the text adjacent baddie can be used on any baddie. If On a side with M, each time you use another skill in the attack protocol profession against a baddie, you may also place the status effect die matching the shown icon on that baddie if possible. So it's definitely incentivizing her to have multiple die in the same profession, I guess, because otherwise, so these status effects mean nothing unless it sounds like she used another die, one of these other 3 die from that attack protocol profession. If on the side with M, each time you use another skill in the attack protocol profession against a baddie, you may also place. So, yeah, arm cannon, I guess, also wasn't as exciting as I was thinking it might be. It sounded like some kind of cool attack ability, but anyway, needless to say, very asymmetric. Again, completely different looks like than Figment. And so that's Gale, brief overview of Gale. And here's the battle map. So it has the same overall design of the battle maps from the other games. This is the initiative track. So to help keep track of, this is how you keep track of whose turn it is. And then these are the starting positions for the baddies, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's these symbols and iconography, which is, oh no, I guess these are melee, and yeah, looks like they just added extra iconography to help players understand where to put things, because I'm archer or ranged. This is a bow and arrow, which I think means range. So the range baddies are always in the back, melee are in the front, and then for your Gearlocks, melee are in the front, ranged go on the back. So this actually looks identical then, essentially, from the previous ones. But as I mentioned, these lava chips that come with Unbreakable, I imagine, come up, or sorry, that is what makes it different. I'm the glaring hole is the fact that there's these holes in the battle map. So maybe there's holes in Undertow for the battle map, because I know there's that whole raft thing. And unfortunately, that goes to show I've never played my Undertow game yet. But for the core game, it's solid. The whole battle map is completely solid. In Unbreakable, there's holes in all the spaces, because that's why you have these lava tokens, I'll call them, where you obviously must fill in the holes, and then some are going to be lava, and I assume melee character or land creatures or whatever can't go on these, but maybe flying characters and baddies and heroes could. But I would imagine there's some sort of mechanic of how these flip over the course of a battle. Anyway, so that is a big difference then from the previous battle mats. So as you can see, the box is now empty. That was everything, although it's some nice artwork there on the inside, as well as I already showed on the top cover. And that's Too Many Bones Unbreakable unboxing. Thanks, guys, for watching, and thanks specifically to you, JR, for providing all of that insight and commentary to help correct everything that I was either ignoring or not stating correctly. But definitely check out our YouTube channel if you haven't before, Talking Cardboard, because we do review videos as well as playthroughs and other types of related board game content. I myself am hoping to do more streaming like this, I finally got this whole setup in the stream deck thing, so I can do camera angle changes and stuff like that. So I want to use that now more and actually do playthroughs. So I hope to do an Unbreakable playthrough in the next few days because I really want to start playing more of my games. Like I said, I have the whole trove chest of a lot of content that I've yet to play, and then Chip Theory keeps throwing us new games, and I keep getting them because I like supporting the company first of all. So even if I don't play the game, like I feel like I want to support that company because they make the best products in the hobby board gaming market. Again, from a component standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, that's subjective. But from a component standpoint, there is not a game that I have in my collection that that comes close in terms of component quality overall compared to Chip Theory. So, but yeah, no, thanks, JR. It was not disruptive at all. I love any kind of commentary that's constructive is much appreciated. And with that, it's getting pretty late here, so I'm gonna call it a night. But really hope to see you guys again in the future. So thanks, everyone. Hope you have a good rest of your evening or day if you're coming in internationally.